Have you ever wondered why George Washington, the first president of the United States, never had any biological children? It's a question that has puzzled historians for centuries, and yet the answer remains as elusive as the man himself. George Washington's marital life began when he wed Martha Custis, a wealthy widow with two young children from her previous marriage. Despite their long and seemingly happy union, the couple never had any offspring of their own. This absence of biological children has led to much speculation and debate among scholars. Some historians suggest that Martha, having already given birth to 4 children, 2 of whom had tragically died in infancy, may have been unable to bear more. Others, however, point to a different possibility. They hypothesize that it was George Washington himself who was unable to father children. One compelling theory posits that Washington, known to have suffered from a range of health issues throughout his life, may have contracted tuberculosis as a young man. This illness, particularly severe in his case, could very well have resulted in sterility. However, this is mere speculation, as medical records from the era are scarce and inconclusive. What we do know for certain is that George Washington was a deeply private individual, and the question of his fertility was likely a personal matter he chose to keep out of the public eye. Despite this, he was known to be a loving and devoted stepfather to Martha's 2 surviving children, treating them as if they were his own. Yet this mystery is but a small piece of the enigma that is George Washington. His personal life, though intriguing, is overshadowed by his monumental achievements as a military leader and statesman. His contributions to the formation and development of the United States are immeasurable and continue to resonate even today. His personal life, as fascinating as it is, forms only a small part of this great man's story. Born into the landowning gentry of colonial Virginia in 1732, George Washington was destined for greatness. His early life was marked by privilege, but also by a thirst for knowledge and a sense of duty that would shape his future. Despite a lack of formal education, young Washington learned from the world around him, developing a keen intellect and a knack for leadership. His father's early death left him without a traditional academic path, but it did not deter him. Instead, he turned to surveying, a profession that combined his love for exploration and his aptitude for mathematics. This work took him to the frontier of Virginia, exposing him to the wilderness and the complex dynamics of colonial politics. Surveying provided crucial practical knowledge, but more importantly, it fostered an understanding of land and its value that would prove pivotal in his later life. His early 20s saw him step into the world of military service. Initially serving as a major in the Virginia militia, he was thrust into the limelight during the French and Indian War, where he led troops against the French with a mix of bravery and tactical acumen. It was during this time that Washington's reputation as a leader and a soldier began to take shape. This period was formative for Washington. He witnessed the harsh realities of war and the consequences of political decisions. He saw the need for unity and strong leadership. His experiences, good and bad, began to forge the man who would later lead a revolution and become the first president of the United States. But it was more than just experience. It was a spark, a passion, a calling. Washington's early military career ignited a flame within him. He tasted the thrill of command, the weight of responsibility, and the satisfaction of serving his country. This was not just a job or a duty, it was a vocation. A taste for the military life was kindled that would burn bright in the years to come. As tensions between the American colonies and the British Empire grew, so did Washington's role in the unfolding drama. George Washington, a name synonymous with the birth of a nation, found himself at the heart of the American Revolution. His involvement was not merely incidental, but instead he played a pivotal role in shaping the course of history. Growing discontent had been simmering among the colonists for years, and the oppressive rule of the British Empire only stoked the flames of rebellion. Washington, a man of principle and courage, found himself drawn to the cause of freedom. He didn't sit idly by as the tides of change swept over his homeland. Instead, he took up the mantle of leadership, ready to guide his fellow countrymen through the storm of revolution. In 1775, the Continental Congress appointed Washington as the commander-in-chief of the newly formed Continental Army. It was a daunting task, to say the least. The Continental Army was a ragtag group of militiamen with little to no formal training. They were up against the British Empire, one of the most formidable military forces of the time. But Washington, was undeterred. He knew the stakes, and he was ready to do whatever it took to secure freedom for his people. Under his leadership, the Continental Army saw many triumphs, but perhaps none was more significant than the Battle of Trenton. On a frigid Christmas night in 1776, Washington led his troops across the icy Delaware River. They launched a surprise attack on the Hessian forces stationed at Trenton, securing a crucial victory that boosted morale and gave the Revolution a fighting chance. Washington's military strategies, his unwavering determination, and his ability to inspire his troops were instrumental in the success of the American Revolution. He was not just a leader, but a beacon of hope amidst the chaos of war. He stood tall, ready to face any challenge that came his way, leading his men with unparalleled courage and conviction. Against all odds, Washington led a ragtag group of soldiers to victory, proving himself a leader of extraordinary caliber. His actions during the American Revolution marked the beginning of a legacy that would shape the face of a nation. With independence secured, the fledgling nation needed a leader, and there was no better candidate than George Washington. As we delve into the era of Washington's presidency, it's essential to understand that his time in office was a journey of trials and triumphs. The newly formed United States was like a ship adrift in uncharted waters, and Washington was the captain tasked with navigating the storm. In an environment where political instability was the order of the day, Washington's primary focus was to establish a robust federal government. He knew the importance of a strong central authority that could maintain order, enforce laws, and ensure the nation's survival. To achieve this, he worked tirelessly to put together a cabinet, a group of advisors who would help him make informed decisions. His cabinet consisted of brilliant minds of the time, including Thomas Jefferson as Secretary of State and Alexander Hamilton as Secretary of the Treasury. These individuals, despite their differing views, were united under Washington's leadership, working towards the common goal of a prosperous and stable nation. Washington's presidency was also noted for his policy of neutrality in foreign conflicts. At a time when Europe was embroiled in wars, Washington made a conscious decision to keep the United States out of these conflicts. He believed that the young nation needed to focus on its internal growth and stability without getting entangled in overseas disputes. This policy of neutrality was not without its critics. Many believed that the United States, as a burgeoning power, should assert its influence on the global stage. But Washington held firm to his convictions, demonstrating a steadfastness that would come to define his presidency. His tenure as president was not without its challenges, but through it all, Washington's leadership shone bright. He navigated through the nation's infancy with grace and resolve, setting the country on a path towards becoming a global powerhouse. His presidency set the standard for all who would follow in his footsteps. His commitment to a strong federal government, his establishment of a presidential cabinet, and his policy of neutrality in foreign conflicts all set a precedent that has shaped the United States for over 2 centuries. Truly, George Washington was the leader the young nation needed and deserved. George Washington's impact on the United States is immeasurable. His influence didn't end when he stepped down from the presidency, but rather it only grew stronger. After his 2 terms as president, Washington returned to his beloved Mount Vernon. However, his retirement was anything but quiet. He continued to shape the nation's future, albeit from behind the scenes. His letters and correspondences during these years were filled with profound wisdom and advice. His words were the guiding light for the new nation, navigating through the rough waters of political instability and foreign threats. His counsel was often sought by those in power, reflecting the deep respect and trust he had earned. In December of 1799, Washington passed away at his Mount Vernon estate. His death was mourned by the entire nation and beyond. But even in death, his legacy lived on. His steadfast character, his unwavering commitment to the principles of liberty, and the precedents he set in office became the gold standard for future presidencies. His influence on the presidency was profound. He established the tradition of a peaceful transition of power, a hallmark of American democracy. His decision to step down after 2 terms set a precedent that was followed until the mid-20th century. The nation's reverence for Washington is evident in the many monuments dedicated to him. The Washington Monument, a towering obelisk in the heart of Washington, D.C., stands as a testament to his monumental impact. His face is etched on the $1 bill and quarter, a constant reminder of his invaluable contribution. His home at Mount Vernon is preserved as a National Historic Site, drawing thousands of visitors each year. The George Washington University and the state of Washington, named in his honor, are enduring symbols of his influence. George Washington was not just a leader, but an embodiment of American values. His life and legacy continue to inspire countless generations. He was and remains the epitome of American leadership and integrity. So, what have we learned about George Washington, the man who was larger than life? We've journeyed through the life of a man who has left an indelible mark on history. Born into a world of colonial power struggles and social hierarchies, George Washington's early life was a mix of privilege and hardship. His father's death when he was only 11 years old shaped his character, imbuing him with a sense of responsibility and maturity beyond his years. This early adversity, combined with his natural leadership skills, set the stage for his remarkable military career. As we've seen, Washington was not just a military man, he was also a revolutionary leader, a beacon of hope in the fight for American independence. His strategic genius and unwavering determination led the Continental Army to victory against the mighty British Empire. It's not an overstatement to say that without Washington's leadership, the Revolutionary War could have ended quite differently, but Washington's influence didn't end with the war. As the nation's first president, he faced the daunting task of leading a fledgling nation. His presidency set many precedents, from his decision to step down after 2 terms to his efforts to maintain neutrality in international affairs. These actions laid the foundation for the democratic principles that continue to guide the United States today. Finally, we delved into the legacy of George Washington, a legacy that resonates to this day. More than 2 centuries after his death, Washington remains a symbol of courage, integrity, and selfless service. His life story continues to inspire millions around the world, reminding us of the power of perseverance and the importance of principled leadership. In sum, the story of George Washington is a story of transformation, from a young man grappling with personal loss to a revolutionary leader and ultimately to the first president of a new nation. It's a story of resilience, determination, and unwavering commitment to a cause. Remember, the story of George Washington is not just the story of one man, but the story of a nation finding its feet. George Washington, a man of many facets, was much more than just the first president of the United States. He was a beacon of strength and determination, whose life story is a testament to the power of perseverance. Born into a world of uncertainty, he rose to the highest echelons of power, not by chance but through sheer grit and an unwavering commitment to his ideals. His leadership skills were not inherent but honed through the trials and tribulations of life. He was a man who led by example, and his legacy is a testament to the power of effective leadership. His story teaches us that with dedication, courage, and a strong sense of duty, we too can leave an indelible mark on the pages of history. As we delve into the annals of history, we find that the story of George Washington continues to inspire, reminding us of the power of perseverance, integrity, and dedicated leadership.